a blue haze where nothing seems quite real. I wander through days with this crazy feeling. What can it be? Can this be love? This thing that I keep dreaming of all through the night till I wake at early dawn. Tell me, can this be love?
You know, it may be crazy, but we're gonna do it. The Dueling Cavalier is now a musical. Hot dog!
Hallelujah!
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day, March 23rd.
Oh, no, your lucky day is the 24th.
What do you mean the 24th?
It's 1:30 already. It's morning.
Yes, and what a lovely morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. It's great to stay up late. Good morning. Good morning to you.
When the band began to play, the stars were shining bright.
Now the milkman's on his way. It's too late to say good night. So
Good morning.
Good morning.
we've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Morning. Good morning. We've gabbed the whole night through. Good morning. Good morning to
Nothing
you.
could be grander than to be in Louisiana
In the morning.
Good morning.
We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Hello, 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 hello. It is midnight. We are live. You are listening to EastLine Insomnia. My name is Nicole Saban.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Higgins. Welcome to our final episode.
Woo, our final episode of this year. We intend to be back in the new year because we imagine we're going to be here for a little while longer. Isn't that right, Dan?
A little while, I think, is putting it moderately, but yes, I do think I foresee us speaking again in StreamYard.
I do think we'll be back here on Facebook Live. To all of you lovely people who are listening today, we hope some of our regulars are out there. Feel free to comment. Tell us who's joining us tonight.
We're going to be talking about this year in theater, so give us your picks. We want to see what you guys are thinking. What was your favorite thing of the year? And it can be anything. It can be any event, anything at all. Let us know what made your year in theater.
Melanie is glad to see we're going, Dan.
Oh, well, we'll be back, my love. We have a really big event we have to deal with on Tuesday first, so we got to get through that. We got Muses on the horizon, but then we'll be back with some really cool stuff. So don't worry, we'll be back.
We will. Did you have a nice Thanksgiving, Dan?
I had a quaint Thanksgiving.
Quaint Thanksgiving. That's good. All Thanksgiving should have been quaint this year. But Dan, do tell me, what is your favorite way to enjoy Thanksgiving leftovers?
On a sandwich, my love. The only way one should correctly have Thanksgiving leftovers is between two pieces of bread.
Hear me out. I like the wrap. I go for the wrap or the taco.
Okay.
Go for a tortilla. Tell me how you feel. Oh shit!
Nice,
Sorry.
nice live theater, everyone. Did you just fall over? Do you need a life alert? What happened?
My microphone fell over.
The comments are coming in, Nicole. They're all worried. Is she okay?
I'm sorry about that, everyone. Listeners, if you got a shock in your headphones, I apologize. I think, Dan, it's time for the news.
Oh, gosh. This Justin, Nicole Saban is fine and well. She has put in reports of a possible sprained ankle, but she will go on, everyone. So please rest assured, Nicole Saban is very much still with us. Couldn't resist. So, of course, we have some wonderful things still being announced. As always, the Tony nominee, Matthew Morrison, is going green this holiday season. The Broadway alum will star in Dr. Seuss's The Grinch musical on NBC on December 9th at 8 p.m. Joining him on stage will be Tony winner Dennis O'Hare.
The indignity.
I can't. That is just, wow. As adult Max, the Grinch's faithful dog. How the mighty have fallen. Boo Boo Stewart, alongside the infamous Boo Boo Stewart as young Max, and Amelia Minato as Cindy Lou Who. The musical will be filmed at the what is that? At the Troubadour Theatre. There it is, in London. The musical version was, which has previously been seen on Broadway in 2016, 2017, features a book and lyrics by Tim Mason and music by Mel Marvin. The production has toured regionally and also had runs at the theater at Madison Square Garden. Julia Knowles directs the TV special.
So, Dan, I had the displeasure of seeing this show as a child, and even as a child, I thought it was dreadful.
God, I'm so glad it wasn't me. It was like one of my first theater experiences, and all I can remember is being like, I hope theater's better than this. This is a little sad, you know?
Melanie Lipton wants to know who the fuck is Boo Boo Stewart, and Melanie Lipton, I know who Boo Boo Stewart is. He is a Native American. He's a young Native American actor who appeared in the Twilight films.
Like, what a cast, right? It's like, what is going on? Dennis O'Hare, we're worried about you, sir.
So I don't know if it's going to be live or not. I hope it's going to be live because I feel like there's more possibility for it to be truly dreadful if it's live.
I want Dennis O'Hare in a dog outfit. I want that. I want that meme. I want to see it. I want it so bad.
Captain says, give them a break. They need the work. Fine.
I mean, that's fair. You're right. No, you're right. You're right.
No, I'm glad it's happening. Just to be clear, these NBC musicals are always dreadful, and yet I tune in anyway, partially because I love to watch them.
But come on, Patrick, you're going to tell me Dennis O'Hare in a dog costume is not some like Sam Shepard shit? Like, it's like some Harold Pinter craziness, okay?
Anyway, next bit of news. A stage presentation of Into the Woods will be presented by New York City Center as part of its Tony-winning Encores series on dates to be announced. Casting and creative team members will also be revealed at a later time. Led by Encore's artistic director, Leo de Bessonet, the long-running series now offers varied expressions of musical theater revivals, hidden gems from the Broadway canon, productions where artists reclaim work through their own personal lens, and celebrations that look at the ways classic musicals connect us. Stephen Sondheim and James Lapine's twist on beloved fairy tales will be the first production of this third tenet. Encore's artistic director, de Bessonet, says, if the reason to revive a hidden gem is to discover it, then the reason to revive a beloved musical is that it holds enormous meaning to so many people, is to discover what we have in common and how our experiences with these shows connects us. One of the things I find remarkable about musical theater is the space it holds in America, against all odds, providing a touch point of commonality. Among its many rich layers, Into the Woods is a fable about how humans pursue their wishes and what happens when they set aside their individual wishes to create a greater community wish. So we're going to talk more about encores later in the show, but I'm excited to see this Into the Woods. Are you, Dan?
What a quote. I mean, join the ages encores. That's what I got to say. It's really beautiful. I mean, Into the Woods was one of my first theater experiences on stage. I love Into the Woods. I'm excited to hear that unbelievable full orchestra Solway at Into the Woods. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. Speaking of things we're looking forward to, we got some cool seasons that were just announced. So we're going to rattle through them. First one is Signature Theater's 2021-22 season will feature 5 works by resident playwrights, a production by playwright Anna Devere Smith, world premiere plays from playwrights Annie Baker, Brandon Brandon, Jacob Jenkins, Samuel D. Hunter, and a New York premiere by Dominique Mousseau. Anna Devere Smith continues her residency with Twilight Los Angeles 1992, which was originally scheduled for spring of 2020, which had been postponed. They will also present 4 new works. The rescheduled New York premiere of Confederates by Dominique Mousseau, directed by Kamala Forbes, and the world premieres of On the Uses of Pain for Life, written and directed by Annie Baker. Come on, hello. That sounds like something EastLine will eventually do. A Case for the Existence of God, another thing that sounds like we do it, by Samuel D. Hunter, directed by David Calmer, and Grass, written and directed by Brandon Jacob Jenkins. All 2021-22 season performances will take place at the Pershing Square Signature Center at dates to be announced. So
I am excited for that, Annie Baker. I gotta say.
Oh, you know, girl. You know I'm excited. I can't wait.
As part of its 2021-22 season, Manhattan Theater Club is bringing Ruben Santiago Hudson's Lackawanna Blues to Broadway for the first time. Santiago Hudson will direct and star in the solo show, which aims to debut fall 21 at the Samuel J. Friedman Theater with new original music by Bill Sims Jr. Following its postponement, Manhattan Theater Club also set new dates for Paula Vogel's How I Learned to Drive, reuniting much of the creative team and cast from the original off-Broadway production. Directed by Mark Brokaw, Manhattan Theater Club hopes to begin performances in spring 2022. That seems miles away, doesn't it? At the Friedman with Mary Louise Parker, David Morris, Joanna Day, Alyssa Mae Gold, and Chris Meyer still attached to the project. Off-Broadway at the New York City Center Stage 1, Manhattan Theater Club plans to present the world premiere of Morning Sun, written by Simon Stevens and directed by Lila Newberger, starring Edie Falco, Blair Brown, and Marin Ireland next fall. The American premiere of Golden Shield, written by Anne Chuli, Felicia King, and directed by Danya Tamor, is also planned for the season. Exact performances schedules, as we're well familiar with, will be announced at a later date.
you know, wishful thinking. And that trend continues with the MCC Theater having announced several new digital and live performances to be presented through the rest of 2020 and into 2021. Among the highlights are a live stream production of in-person staging by Jocelyn Bio's Nollywood Dreams and Danye R. Love's new play, Soft. The Sahim Ali directed Nollywood Dreams, which was in rehearsals at the time of the shutdown, and Love's Soft, helmed by Whitney White, will premiere when it is safe to do so in accordance with official health and safety guidelines. MCC also remains committed to producing Lucy Thurber's Perry Street in a later season. Debuting spring 2021 is Van Hughes and Nick Blemier's new musical Space Dogs, directed by Tina Landau, and live streamed. Casting and creative teams will be announced at a later date.
And we have had some funny comments.
Oh yeah, what's up, everyone? Good morning.
Patman says Dennis O'Hare in a dog suit is a selling point for me.
Come on, I know you too well, Pat Finn. I know you too damn well.
Matt Rosenberg says it sounds like a must-miss. John Gaffner wants to join us for the Hate Watch. Bridget Lakova, hi Bridget, we miss you.
Hi Bridge, we miss you so much.
For Christmas, which I agree with you. I'm excited for Christmas content, but I watched the commercial on the Macy's parade for this Grinch, and I gotta tell you, I wasn't convinced by Matthew Morrison. And then Melanie Lipton about Into the Woods says Dennis O'Hare will play the cow.
Fair enough. Oh gosh, we have a huge event though we want to talk about real quickly in more detail. We have our big fundraising event on Tuesday. Tell them all about it, Nicole.
Yes, on Tuesday, December 1st. Join us throughout the day for our Giving Tuesday EastLine Telethon fundraiser. The festivities begin at 11 a.m. From 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Join Matt Rosenberg and Danny Higgins for a segment we're calling EastLine Kibitz. Which does what it says on the tin. It'll be Matt and Danny reminiscing about the past of EastLine, and we've got segments from lots of former EastLine actors, not former, current EastLine actors.
They're all still very much with us. Yes,
discussing their memories of the joint, and then join us in prime time from 7 to 10 p.m. where we've got the main event, the main EastLine Giving Tuesday telethon. We've got music and comedy. Kyle Mahoney and Tyrone will be making an appearance. Scheduled for the 9 o'clock hour, so as to pass the watershed, and Tyrone can say whatever he wants.
We're coming fully prepared for Tyrone.
We've got many things. We've got John Gaffner, who's listening right now, it will be performing a few songs. John Brodicum is performing music as well, as is Tom Corsiari. Join us also. Melanie Lipton will be joining us for a segment called Tea with Melanie Lipton. Spilling Tea with Melanie Lipton. Lipton, you get it. Just lots of things. It's 3 hours. 3 hours.
3 hours
EastLine
simulcast from my living room. 3 hours simulcast from my living room. My mother wants to murder me, but it's going to be great. So come check it out, guys. Your generosity is what keeps us going. I'm going to say it. Your generosity is what's kept us going thus far. Your generosity, not only with your talents, but with your coin purse, is what's going to keep us going into the new year. We got some big plans. 2021 is going to be our year. We feel it. We know we said that last time, but we're saying it again this year. We have some great things on the horizon, which we're going to talk about in our last segment of the day, which is going to be our diner talk with a special EastLine Insomnia. So we hope you guys will all join us for all of that. I'm excited to hang out with you one more time. An excuse to hang out with you on a Tuesday, Nicole.
Yeah, but are you going to get disco fries delivered to my house, Dan?
If you ask me nicely, I might just order some Uber Eats for you and get it to you.
Disco fries.
If not, we'll have to deal with it virtually, I think.
Virtual disco fries.
But let's have our usual lively debate that we always have about all the things we loved and hate about theater. But this time, let's review some 2020. How about it, Nicole?
I'm into it.
It's time for open debate.
Still, this Congress refuses to grant any of my proposals on independence, even so much as the courtesy of open debate. Good God, what in hell are you waiting for? Thomas, for God's sake, listen to me. I had enough of you, sir. Now listen. Will you listen to me and forget the...
So we thought we would do our year in the review at this point, even though it has been an absolutely unprecedented year for theater, especially. I'll be Jesse Green. You can be Ben Brantley, Dan.
Okay, fine. I guess I accept those terms.
But so we're tracing back theater from, say, a calendar year ago, last November, and we thought we would discuss what it was like for everybody. What it was like.
Yeah.
Should we start? I think the basic place to start is with theater we did see in person before things went awry, to put it mildly.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this year it's hard not to just preface everything with that we have gone through a crazy transformative year for theater. Mm-hmm. A year that has sort of brought us to question what theater means, not only in the sense of how it's performed, why it's performed, but why we do it. I think all of these have been reevaluated.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we've seen before the now times, I feel, is going to be sort of find its way into some form of a myth. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel hard to sort of objectively talk about shows before the now times because it was the last things you saw. So you're going to mythologize, create a myth around it. So
definitely,
but you're right. And the hard part about that, Nicole, is that the big thing that happened before the now times is we closed EastLine Wantagh, which, we really haven't talked about all that much in the context of this show. It's something that we always seem to not really want to talk about because it's so hard to talk about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's still fresh. We closed EastLine this year. Mm-hmm. The year hasn't even changed yet. Yeah. And think about how much has changed nonetheless. So we were doing, we did Amadeus and Indecent, left everything on the damn floor. I mean, I remember you and I sitting in the damn lobby thinking about it. And we decided to leave everything on the stage and then, closing up with Glass Menagerie and the way we did it. It's hard not to have that at the focus of your mind when you're thinking about the before times. It's just hard for me. I don't know about you, but it's hard not to be thinking about that stuff.
No, and it's also colored by the fact that because we were so heavily invested those last 3 months, because we were there every weekend, every night, rehearsing, eventually moving out of the building, honestly, I did less theater going than I usually do because I was spending so much time in Wantagh.
You're right.
And then just the way you and I talked about how we were like, fine, we're going to treat ourselves after the place closes. We're going to spend March seeing every play that we can possibly see because we will finally have a little bit of free time to do it. We were like, we were
going to binge theater. We were going to binge theater.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then we never got that.
No, we didn't.
Instead, we just got the sad half.
But then you know what's interesting, and I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, is that, and it's so bad to say this, but it's my show, so fuck everyone. Everything felt better because we weren't the only ones going through it.
Mm.
And I know that sounds really screwed up because I don't want anyone to have to go through what I went through.
Mhm.
I don't think I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy to have to close your theater. It's the most devastating thing that you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
And we all went through it together, and suddenly the entire community was experiencing what we were feeling. And it was like weird because our closure took on a new meaning, a new definition for us, that we had the opportunity to take a breath and reevaluate and look forward.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we should look back before then, because this is about a year in review, not a year in the future.
So I agree with you. I feel like we left it all on the table with our last 3 shows there: Amadeus, Indecent, Glass Menagerie. It was a good way to go out, I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, just our Glass Menagerie alone.
Yeah, if there was going to be a last show that I appeared in before the end of theater, I'm glad it was Glass Menagerie.
And the way we did it, I mean, it felt like a Follies. We really decided to do it in the what was left of the theater, or rather, what was left from the basement in the theater.
Yep.
And it was a really special production. I'm glad we got to do it.
Yeah, so I know we were busy at the end of last year, beginning of this year, but did you catch any other local theater? I mean, it's always hard to catch local theater when you run a theater because you are busy every weekend. Every weekend, the other theaters are doing their shows. It's very difficult to catch anything, honestly.
The only thing I was able to really catch that I can really say I'm proud and glad I caught was Theater 3's Christmas Carol. I finally made the pilgrimage to seeing it. I felt like I couldn't be a normal Long Island theater goer without having seen Jeff Sanzell's Christmas Carol. It's like, you want to talk about a living myth, it's that show. I think Grandpa Moses and the tribes of Israel were in the original cast. It's been going on for so long.
So let's go next year. I love Christmas Carol.
I love it too, and the production is fantastic. He does a great job, and I gotta say, power to Jeff. At the end of that show, Jeff will stand on stage and take a picture with every single person who comes to see that show. And it's because the show has become such a staple in their community. It's so endearing. It puts you right in the Christmas spirit. Mm-hmm. And you're sitting around all these people who are, seeing it because it's a part of their holiday traditions. And that's what makes theater great. When people are going to the theater because they want to go to it, so it's just, the atmosphere is wonderful. The production is wonderful. So if you ever need a Christmas show when the new times come, Christmas Carol Theater 3 is the staple. Just go. Don't even think anywhere else.
I'm there. I would like to see it.
But we also obviously saw some professional theater before we closed, which is my segue to finally get to pry you again, which is, Nicole, what was the last show you saw professionally again? What was it?
The last show I saw before the end of theater was a Lehman trilogy on Broadway. And perhaps I am overly harsh on it because it was the last thing I saw. And if I never get to be in a theater again, I'm real disappointed that this was the last show I saw. Because
it wasn't that bad.
No, okay. No, it wouldn't. I probably would not be criticizing it so much if I had a season of other theater after it that I had seen. But alas, that is not the case. The acting was spectacular. I'm interested in the plot. I think it has some political troubles. Like, for example, one of the Lehman brothers was a slaveholder, and it goes absolutely unmentioned in a 3.5-hour show. There was no space in your 3.5-hour show for it. But I think the main sticking point for me with the show is just the utter wastefulness of it. In that respect, it almost does feel like a before times piece of theater. Like,
absolutely right.
I hope that when we return, we are not in that same decadent, wasteful mindset when it comes to theater. For example, not to spoil the Lehman trilogy, but you spend 3 hours and 25 minutes with 3 actors, and they perform the entire 200-year history of the Lehman brothers. And in the last 3 minutes of the show, they heard on 25 other actors. So they paid those actors to be there just to appear in the last 5 minutes of the show. And I just feel that is not something we'll be doing in the future. It just feels wasteful and decadent and unfair to those actors in some respect. I hope in in 2021 we will be reaching a more egalitarian type of performance that doesn't privilege some actors over other actors in the way that this performance did. It just didn't sit well with me. And I hope we'll be seeing.
Well, I think the problem. I think the problem with the show stems from the fact that it was sort of like, how do I put it? It was, it insists upon itself.
Yes.
That it has this sort of self-aggrandizing importance that it insists upon itself. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, you spend 3.5 hours watching privileged boys build a bank, and it's like, okay, sure, I get it. But again, I think this also goes into the mindset of the before times theater. And hopefully it won't be when we come back, because this is like the great reset. This is our opportunity to not be this anymore. But just this commercialism in theater, this glorifying of commercial, in the way that the shows they present, I'd like to see it leave as well. It's time. New theater is needed.
House.
And the only
Clean house.
Clean house. This is our opportunity to change our direction, and let's hope we take it. Well, what else did you see before the now times? What else?
At the opposite end of the spectrum, my first pick is one of my favorite things I did see in the last year was Dr. Ride's American Beach House by Liza Birkenmeyer at Ars Nova, a quiet little play about two women on a rooftop waiting for Sally Ride to blast off into space.
Oh, Nicole.
A quiet little love story. Honestly, it was. It's set on a summer afternoon, and it felt like being there. It felt like being on the rooftop with them. 10 out of 10.
I'm surprised we haven't read that in book club yet. It sounds like exactly the kind of thing you pick for book club.
There's only like 4 people in it. Otherwise, I would.
I mean, obviously, we'll have Larry Wrinkle read all 4 parts. What do you think?
What's your next pick, Dan?
I love Larry. I love him. I want to hear him read all full parts. My next pick is actually really interesting. I mentioned this in one of our previous. I mentioned it several times, but my my significant other and I, we went to before when this was like normal. We took a trip up to Massachusetts, and we got to see Moby Dick, which was the most recent Dave Malloy, I don't even know what you would call it, concoction of whatever he's working on. And it was really fascinating, and Rachel Chafkin directed it, and our boy, what's his face? Oh, damn. From Indecent.
Tom Nealon.
Oh, yeah, he played Ahab, and he was great. But the problem was that it was really this like wild presentation. It was trying to reinvent the form and say it in a different way. It was 3 acts. It was like 4 hours long. It felt like I was being read the book Moby Dick, which, I mean, it's a great book, but I don't need it read to me. But I'm really curious to see maybe where the show goes, how they rework it, what stays. I mean, it's very much in its sort of, I'm going to bring up commercialism again, pre-commercialism form. They haven't figured out how they're going to sell it yet. So I feel like things are still all there that they don't feel they need to cut yet. Mm-hmm. So in that, I don't know if we'll ever really see what Moby Dick was meant to be, because, when you see the sausage get made, it changes how the end product looks. Yeah. I think Hadestown is a perfect example of that. So I'm curious to see where it goes, but it was an interesting choice nonetheless. It was a fascinating watch, and if it ever does come back and you'll at least be intrigued and confused, and that's worth it, I think.
Another thing I loved this year is This a Room at the Vineyard Theater. This was a verbatim piece that used interrogation records from the interrogation of reality winner, who a few years ago was a whistleblower in the Russia case. She is in jail to this day, and using this verbatim text, they really recreate the anxiety of the moment. So like the CIA approaching her, the FBI approaching her house and eventually arresting her. With an absolutely outstanding,
God,
main performance from Emily Davis as reality winner herself. Truly, I've never felt such anxiety in a theater. I felt I was there with her and was waiting for her to say the wrong thing. That was, you know what I mean?
I mean, you look at our wonderful slides. All of our slides are made by Nicole Sabin. Aren't they wonderful, everyone? We don't mention that enough. Our wonderful slide here, right in the dead center with Death of England of Delroy, had a very similar performance to this. This one person, I mean, she had a couple more supporting actors than he did, but there was it was her for an hour and a half at 13 the whole time, because how would you be if you were being interrogated by the FBI? So it's it was wild to watch her have to go to the places she had to go to. Mm-hmm. Also, #free reality. So that is my answer.
You have anything else we saw together that you loved, Dan?
Oh, I loved Sing Street, which almost was our last thing before the Now Times that we saw together. Right? I think that was after. I think so.
It was in February.
Well, yeah, so it was one of the last ones. And I loved it from beginning to end. And it really made me question my opinions on jukebox musicals, which I know I'm going to get flagged. There's going to be a comment from Brian.
Leave your hate below. Leave your hate for Dan.
I just said that. But Sing Street, wonderful. The premise, the way that she was able to direct that with the keyboards, it was just fascinating to watch. It was excellent. I was excited to want to see it again. Mm-hmm. And the story of the 2 Irish brothers hits me right in my potato famine heart. And I just, I loved it. I think it was great.
I enjoyed it, but really standout direction for Rebecca Teichman. The way she used musical instruments in choreography was really brilliant, I have to say.
I loved it. I loved it. Very happy we went.
Another show I had mixed opinions about this year, Medea. We went with lovely PJ Serena, who I'm sure is not listening. She goes to bed early. But Medea was one of those ones that you're like, Roseburn, you are nailing this right now.
Oh my! You felt like you were in a moment. You were experiencing a thing you could say you saw. You know what I mean?
Roseburn's
Her
Medea.
performance it was absolutely monumental. That's the only word I could use for it, right? It was just like
Yes,
watching her like play in a pile of ash is like, I wish that was my regular Tuesday. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. The staging was visually stunning.
It was wild. I mean, look at the production photos. If you guys go look at them, you'll see what we're talking about. It was really stunning. Bobby Cannavale, also as Jason, was very good, but she can fucking act circles around her husband. I'm sorry. She is 10 times better.
What a weird thing for a couple to do Medea.
Oh, I want to watch her kill my kids. That's what gets me going. Oh, remember the time before marriage. Let's fantasize. Oh, gosh. Well, speaking of murder and mayhem, we also saw a horror double hitter at Classic Stage, which was Frankenstein and Dracula. Dracula being by one of our favorites, Kate Hamill. It was honestly, I mean, Frankenstein, it was great because I felt like the performance and the use of music was just excellent. But the standout one was obviously Dracula. I can't even remember the last time I laughed that hard in a theater. It was so good. It was so well done. I'm so glad that it was like my first Kate Hamill live. You know, it was just, I was really proud of it. I'm proud of it. I know that's like, I'm sounding like I'm like a Jewish mom, but I was so happy to be there and be experiencing it. And it was absolutely, if the year went normal, like if this was a normal review and we didn't have COVID, this would probably be in my top 3 for the year. It was really great. She
really drew the comedy out of Dracula, and she also just drew some new things on the piece that I really enjoyed. I loved chaotic bisexual Dracula. It just made sense.
The only way.
I loved her take on Van Helsing. I loved her take on Renfield. There was a lot about it to like.
And she was in it. She was in it, and she was great.
Yeah, there is something fun about seeing a playwright in their own work, I have to say.
Because she's doing it the way it was in her head. So I think that's really cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you don't get that opportunity. Like, imagine you got to be like, I saw Tennessee Williams play Amanda. You know,
he would.
He'd be great. You know, he'd be great. What's your last pick?
In February, I really loved, and every year I attend every encore show. But this is one I've been looking forward to for years. Honestly, they're Mac and Mabel. Mac and Mabel. That score with the encores, full ass like 32-piece orchestra led by Rob Berman. The book is terrible, but the score is immortal in that show.
You know, it's funny. I feel like the reason I'm so happy about having seen Mac and Mabel is, one, I can say that.
Yep.
And two, I got to say that it was with the Encore's orchestra, which was great. But mainly, like, Mac and Mabel was like the first time I felt like I went to Encores and did it right. Because I've been geeking out about Mac and Mabel for like 5 years at the point I got to see it. Yeah. And it's like the first time Encores was doing the one that I really wish I got to see or really want to see. So it was really cool to be doing that alone. There were some things about the production I wasn't crazy about. Yes, I agree with you. The book is a mess. I mean, I don't know why everyone's so afraid to make Mac unlikable, but the script doesn't want to make him likable. So why you're trying is just beyond me. He abused her. Everyone abused her. Stop trying to make him likable. It's like Carousel. It's flawed. Accept it. You know, like do something different. You know, like
I did really love Alexandra Sosha as Mabel, though. Sting performance, really.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely would be in my top 5 just for the experience of getting to see it alone. But, you know.
Speaking of encores, though, things were said we missed. Every year, again, I see every encore show, and I was fully prepared to see A, Love Life, and B, The Thoroughly Modern Millie rewritten by Laura Nee.
Oh my gosh.
I was extremely ready. Like, you are never going to see Love Life again. Love Life is never coming back. And that cast, Kate Baldwin, Stokes Mitchell, I am here for it.
I mean, I'm just...
It's never coming. It's never going to happen.
I think I think the thing that we were most robbed of this year was definitely the Thoroughly Modern Millie revival. I'm going to call it a revival because I'm going to will it into being.
Revisal is what they were calling it.
Yeah, but I was very much hoping that we would get to see Thoroughly Modern kind of take its place now in the way that, because it would hopefully fix the problem areas, and that it would be able to take its rightful place in the canon as a good musical, because it is and can be if done correctly. So I think that was one of the biggest steals from this coming year, is that we didn't get a chance to see that. I'm really upset.
But Dan, what was the biggest, the one I'm the most gutted about?
It's the Jungle. We didn't get to see the Jungle because group outings was a thing of the before times. I mean, I gotta tell you,
the 6 months I was planning that field trip.
I want to say to you, like, the undertaking it took for you to do that and like not get to do it, it kind of feels like you trained for the New York Marathon and then they canceled the New York Marathon.
I mean, that did happen. Yes, but
it's such a good play, and we were building up so much, and now I'm gonna have to wait. I'm so upset about it.
Yeah, so this was a play we read in book club, The Jungle. It was meant to be on at St. Anne's Warehouse in Brooklyn, and we were planning a whole day out of it. We had 25 people from the book club lined up to go on this field trip to go see it. We were going to get Shake Shack beforehand. It was going to be the best day out. But it will be happening because they are planning to postpone, and we'll reschedule that show when St. Anne's is able to open. If you are interested in going with us, do shoot me a message and I will add you to my list of people to contact again when this is all over and I'm rebooking tickets. Come to see The Jungle.
Now, speaking of rebooking tickets, we were robbed of a show the day of the closing.
Oh, yes.
The day of the closing, we were robbed of a show.
We had tickets to see Unknown Soldier at Playwrights Horizons, written by the late Michael Friedman. And I think the show will eventually come back, but I just remember we were so we had no idea what was coming. I remember
no one did.
I remember the group chat being like, "So, do you think this virus thing is going to cancel it?" And then it did.
And then canceled everything and canceled all of life.
Yes. And we were ready to go until the last second, until 6 p.m. We were ready to get on a train.
Nicole, in the before times, we were going on trains without masks, and God. I was opening up doors with my sleeve jacket, thinking that would solve anything.
What else did we have tickets to, Dan?
Oh, well, of course. This year was going to be the year of Treat Yourself, because I treated myself to a New York Theater Workshop membership for my birthday, which was, they do a really interesting thing there that I highly recommend for all theaters. I actually think it's the best way to do it, is you buy a block of tickets, basically, an amount of tickets that they give you a discount on. Which I think is great for if you're going to go with more than one person and you're going to make, all right, we want 3 people, we're going to see 5 shows and blah, 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 and the math works out. But I had enough tickets to take you and me and our sorry asses to every New York Theater Workshop show, which was going to be so exciting because I wanted to become a regular there for the longest time. And we only got to see Sing Street, but we were going to end up seeing Three Sisters with Oscar Isaac and Sam Gold directing, who I love. I love it so much.
Really excited for Endlings by Celine Song, because if you're at the top left, you'll see the lovely ladies in their scuba suits. I was excited. There was a pool at the front of the stage. I wanted to know what it was about, and now hopefully someday I will.
Yeah.
Well, also, we also had a membership too. A membership specifically bought for this show that was canceled. We had bought a membership to the Classic Stage so we could see Kate Hamill's Dracula. We were psyched, but we did see that one, but we didn't see Assassins.
I know.
Which
even later.
And that wild cast. I hope the whole cast sticks around. I'm excited.
Oh my God.
For June. Excited for Stephen Pasquale.
Our sugar daddy. I mean, honestly, if Liza Minnelli is the queen of insomnia, Stephen is our sugar daddy. So sugar daddy, and you'll see why later in the episode.
So yeah, I'm very excited to see Assassins return.
When it comes back. Yeah, same thing I'm excited for is the other Sondheim that was supposed to open was Company. I had gotten my significant other, I'm mentioning him a lot. I see a lot of theater with him. He's listening. Hello, Brian.
Brian, in fact, says, "I'm not as cruel as I get painted on this show."
Well, he isn't as cruel because he bought me tickets to see Company, because I feel like it's sort of a rite of passage for any gay couple to experience Patti LuPone together. So we were very excited to see Patti. And the production obviously has, like everything else, been shut down. We get a chance to see it. So it'll be cool to get to see that finally when theater opens up again. So, but we did spend a lot of time online, obviously, like we all did. So
did.
obviously we're going to have a segment where we talk about that shit.
I mean, I've always been a very online person, but still, this is more than ever I did before.
Like, what is StreamYard? Ask me what StreamYard was in February, and I wouldn't have any fucking idea.
Zoom, I've never heard of Zoom before the quarantine.
Like, StreamYard, is that like some sort of like herbal cigarette site? Like, what is it? Like, is that some like, millennial jewelry store? Like, what is that?
StreamYard, in fact, for listeners who don't know, is the platform we use to broadcast Insomnia.
And this is a deep inside joke, but you know what? It's the last episode, so fuck it.
But the thing that was getting me through the early days of the quarantine, in fact, was something I had pre-ordered last autumn, and then it arrived gloriously in March. It was the cast album for Rags Parkland Sings the Songs of the Future, which I highly recommend to anybody who's into new musicals, is interested in new musicals. This was a show I had seen at Ars Nova a few years ago, and they finally released the cast recording, and it was a live cast recording. So it felt a little bit like back when I was a child and I would listen to a cast recording for the first time, because you could imagine the whole show because of the liveness of it. So, put on the music, close your eyes, play the cast recording, and it's like you're there. It's got even some like audience chatter, and Rex Parkland introduces himself at the top of the show. I highly recommend. It's an excellent cast recording. Rex Parkland sings the songs of the future.
I mean, the thing that I'm going to just jump right in, as you said, feeling like you're there. So, like, the loss of theater at the beginning was such a foreign thing because, again, we have to remind ourselves, we've only been in this for not even a full year yet. So Zoom theater, that medium built itself so fast. I mean, for God's sakes, they're running a musical on TikTok at this point. I mean,
the ratatouille.
The rat of all my dreams. If you don't know what we're talking about, go Google it. You'll love us for telling you. But in all honesty, it was Oedipus at the beginning when Theater of War did Oedipus with Oscar Isaac. I know it's now just mentioned twice, which is ironic. And there was that moment, I know you're going to agree with me, Nicole, where at the end I'm watching this, and this is how I figured a Zoom reading would be. But then Oscar Isaac came back into shot in this Zoom call, having stabbed his eyes out and having makeup on his eyes. And there was suddenly this theatrical moment in the middle of a Zoom. And it was such a wild experience. I was so confused and intrigued all at the same time. I didn't know what to make of it. I was like, wow, this is like, I felt like it was in my head, the birth of a new medium. I didn't think of it that way that they did. And it was like, whoa, it was wild.
And that's without even saying that Frances McDormand was also in that reading.
So Jeffrey Wright was in it. He was excellent. Okay.
So New York City public advocate Jumaane Williams.
And John Turturro. John Turturro was in it.
Yeah. The Theater of War readings have really stacked casts.
Well, I mean, that's also part of the conversation to have. The fact that this digital format has allowed casts like those to even exist. Yeah. Because people don't have to leave. They can just be in the houses doing the thing. I mean, I got to see Frances McDormand's living room. That's pretty cool.
I've already seen it.
Oh, well, excuse me. I didn't even know how to respond to that. But I do want you to talk about the other Greek thing that happened at the beginning of the quarantine, which we don't talk about enough on this channel, is By Jove and the wonderful work being done over on the other side of the pond.
So, I mean, I feel to some extent online theater is actually ideal for Greek theater because of the alienness of Greek tragedy and the alienness of the Zoom medium. So in May, we did a production, June, we did a production of Medea, which is a new version by Wendy Haynes. I'm an associate director at the London-based company By Jove Theatre. You can still find it on their YouTube channel, By Jove Theatre Company on YouTube. You can watch the whole performance. It was live at the time. But I think it helped me explore new ways of it was the first more produced thing I'd worked on that used voiceover and different visuals and using which cameras and making a point of seeing inside the actors' homes and what that meant to the piece. So yeah, it was the first thing I really got deep into.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, again, you said it so beautifully at the beginning of that, was that, Greek tragedy has this natural fit into the form, right? Mm-hmm. You can easily do it in the format and it still feels like it's getting its point across. Mm-hmm. But also it's almost like I feel the direct channel to emote through, because it's just raw emotion in its basic form. So it's so universal immediately once performed that any person in any corner of the world, all going through a pandemic, can easily tap into. So I agree with you. There's just this universality to the themes in it that everyone can attach to. Mm-hmm. And if you need a good IO, you should open up a Greek drama, and you will absolutely get that sort of catharsis that you need.
And then on the opposite end of the piece that I technically directed is the biggest theater release of the year, which of course,
Absolutely.
Hamilton going live on Disney Plus. Hamilton, probably the most watched theatrical event of all time. Certainly a filmed version of a stage production. Certainly the most talked about, most widely distributed. What did you think, Dan? What did you think?
Okay, so this is a two. I can't believe we're actually talking about Hamilton on this talk show now. We have sort of danced around bringing this up until we felt we were further enough away from all the shit that came out of it to sort of have an objective conversation. And I still don't think we're ready, because I still don't think Hamilton's place in the theater canon has truly been reckoned with yet, and we don't know where it sits. And it's being reevaluated even in real time before all of us on Twitter. And my problem was this: I got to see it live, and frankly, because someone bought me tickets, it was a gift. I would never really get to see that if I had spent my own money. And I saw it, and I remember liking the album and really being like, oh, this is interesting. And everyone and their theatrical grandmother saying how unbelievably transformative and divine intervention moment this was in their lives. And it was like the greatest thing ever to give to been to theater since, Thesbis. And it's like unreal. So I went in with these weird high hopes. And then like halfway through act one, I went, oh shit. I don't really care for it. And I'm like, oh my God, am I broken? Am I missing something? Am I suddenly, oh my God, am I old? Am I older than the people who are older than me? I don't get this. And then intermission rolled around, and the person I was with looked at me and went, nah. And I was like, whoa, okay, so it's not just me. I did not care for The Godfather. I feel like it insists upon itself. There were so many problematic things that are with it. And watching the video made me reevaluate that and rethink it. And having the conversation now with the entire world made me feel better about having that opinion. And my main problem with the piece is, Nicole, is at the very beginning. Aaron Burr walks on stage and basically in the first 3 minutes says, hello, I'm Aaron Burr. No one tells my story. Now, let me tell you the story of Alexander Hamilton. And it's like, what? What is this play about? What is this play about? And it's I know I'm going to get a lot of flack in the comments. I'm sure everyone is going to be rolling their eyes that Danny has that Danny Higgins opinion, but unfortunately, that's how I feel, Nicole, and I'm sure you feel similar.
So I hadn't seen it in person. This was my first experience of watching Hamilton. I did watch it all the way through with my dad, who loved it, and what I love about the piece is its ability to get people who don't necessarily consider themselves musical theater people into musical theater. Like my dad does not like musicals, but wouldn't say he's a fan of any of them. But even like on the Macy's parade the other day, Hamilton came on and my dad was like, wasn't that a good musical? And I was like, sure. I like it, but it never quite gels for me. I think that there are serious book problems stemming back to the Aaron Burr thing, as you say. I think the way it treats women is not great. I think the fact that the show is long. The show is more than 3 hours long. And the fact that it leaves so much of history unaddressed, the fact that these people were slaveholders, the fact that now it's proven that Alexander Hamilton sold slaves. Again, I'm not sure it gels for me. But not to segue, but in a similar vein is something you can also watch right now online. Amelia is also a show that is about a historical figure that we maybe don't know much about. Whereas Hamilton tries to convince us that Alexander Hamilton is not well known within the canon of American history, when in fact he's on the $10 bill. I don't know how much more recognition.
He is literally on our currency. You can't get any more established in the consciousness than that. Like, I agree with you. There are like 10 patriot dude stories that we all talk about. One has a fucking cherry tree, and one has a kite, and one has a horse, and like, we got it. Tell me the story about Angelica. Tell me the story about the woman. Those are the stories that don't get told. Like, tell me that's the story I want to hear.
In the same way, I think that Hamilton might be a stronger show if Aaron Burr were more of a major player in the story and there was more of a dynamic setup to juxtapose the two. Amelia kind of handles this by being about Amelia herself, and William Shakespeare, who may have had a relationship with her, is a minor character in the story. So it sort of flips Hamilton on its head in that respect. But there are actually a lot of similarities between the two. Both of them obviously address a historical figure. Both of them challenge casting in some way. For example, Amelia is performed with a cast of all women and lots of women of color as well in the cast, whereas Hamilton does a similar thing. All of the roles are played by people of color. So I think that there's honestly, I think there's an interesting comparison there, and I think people should watch both and see how they feel and see what one can learn from the other, and vice versa.
I agree with you. I think we absolutely need to reevaluate our history as a society and look at the stories that are not told. And I think the only way to do that is to reevaluate the stories we choose to tell in the place of the stories we are currently already telling. And I think the best place you can look at that is actually that center picture right there, which just went live today, which is Death of England, Delroy. This is the prime example of doing this, I feel, of picking a story that should be told. And mind you, this play right here was the first thing I got to see that was written for a post-COVID, post-June Black Lives Matter uproar and continuing revolution. This was the first piece of theater that sort of dealt with those themes. And I got to tell you, this is a freaking banger, man. It is a knockout of the park performance, show, all of it. It does exactly what theater should be doing in the new world. This is the kind of theater we need to have. These are the kinds of stories we need to tell. This is the time we need to spend on the things to fix them. This is the answer, in my opinion.
It is a banger with an excellent central performance. It is still available for the next 12 hours on the National Theater YouTube page. You can watch it. It addresses so much about current events. Like, he mentions lockdown so like offhand, and it just feels so of the future. It feels so of the time. It feels right, honestly. And he delivers. It's a one-man show, monologue driven, almost delivered in a sort of spoken word style with the speed of the dialogue and the density of the dialogue. You might want to turn the captions on. I did, so I wouldn't miss anything. And honestly, it's a solid hour and 20 minutes of your time. You should put the time in the next 12 hours and watch it.
I got to tell you, we're as we're coming to the end of this conversation about our year in review. I mean, EastLine had the fortunate ability to transfer itself online so it could keep its essence going and keep our sanities alive as well. We had the opportunity of doing at the very beginning, experimenting with the Iliad and with A Doll's House, and then further experimenting with Shakespeare and with the importance of being earnest. We're continuing to experiment with this format, with the Insomnia format, which we are really excited to keep going once we cut to the new year. But we need to focus on the next thing we're working on, which is, of course, the Muses Anthology, which we're going to be working on through December, which will be premiering in January. And hopefully we might get a few more virtual things in before we finally make a return back, whenever that happens.
Before we get off this, I just do want to point out my gif of Wale on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen.
Of course. Oh, God. What a performance by all 4 people in that box. That whole cast was fantastic. It was a great show.
I am appearing live for the first time. There's my face.
Look at that face. Like, what? Zoom who? What is Zoom? That's the face you made when you asked what Zoom was. Zoom. Sorry, excuse me. I don't know what Zoom? So all the things we did were just absolutely, I feel gifted, blessed to have done them. And we're going to do another big one on Tuesday, of course. Plug. For our big telethon, which will be an extravaganza nonetheless. But thank you all who joined us in our year of virtual programming, and we are looking forward to more of it in the new year, and hopefully maybe see an end to it. But the one thing I am not ungrateful for, the thing I think I am most thankful for the year of 2020, Nicole, might be that we met the love of our life, Paul Roche. And I would like you to explain. Bring up the photo. I would like you to explain to these wonderful people who Paul Roche was.
Isn't he beautiful? Paul Roche is a translator of Greek tragedy who we had earlier this year when we first entered lockdown. Dan and I decided to read every Greek tragedy that is currently extant. And we have almost made it. We have 3 left. But we quickly discovered that all of our favorite translations were by A, Anne Carson, who you know already, but B, because Anne hasn't written that many, B, by Paul Roche, pictured here. Paul Roche was an absolute playboy. He was fucking everyone and their mother.
Literally Virginia Woolf's sister. It's like where he is literally like, I don't know how he did not know about this guy beforehand. And Nicole, if you would just mind me, I want to start shipping something into existence. So go read this man's obituary in The Guardian, read his history, read his life, and tell me you don't want to see, Nicole. You don't want to see an Aaron Tveit-led musical biopic of Paul Roche. If Ratatouille can exist, I can will this into existence. And look at those similarities. Tell me it doesn't work. I want to see the musical of Paul Roche's life.
So just Paul Roche fucking around.
Yep.
Right, great tragedy. 10 out of 10. I would watch it.
I mean, honestly, Nicole, as we have to wind this down, if you had to pick one, what was your premier 2020 experience in theater? What one was it, Nicole? Which one do you take into the bank?
Not to be all sentimental on Maine or anything. And I did enjoy lots of the live shows I saw this year, but that doesn't feel like the defining theater experience for me this year. To me, the defining theater experience of this year was sitting down with a good play and reading it. And I read so many good plays this year. The Welkin, E=MC² by Hallie Flanagan Davis. But the one night of reading that stands out to me is the night that you and I had a little bit of a marathon, in that we probably started at 11 p.m., as we're wont to do. We read first Ion, and we had been dreading Ion on the list of Greek tragedies because we were like, what's Ion? I've never heard of that.
If I could just butt in real quick, Nicole, let me promise you, everyone listening, you will soon know the plot of Ion. We can promise you that.
And then we read Ion and we loved that shit. And we were just like, at this point, it was like 1:30. And we were like, shall we read another?
We're so bad. We're like addicted. It's so bad.
It's so addictive. And then at 2:00 in the morning, we read Paul Roche's Medea, maybe the greatest play ever written. And honestly, it was just an excellent night of reading. It felt like the best experiences of going to the theater.
I am going to see you and raise you. While I agree with you, the Paul Roche Discovery Night, is which I call that, was 100% one of the top 5 moments in my year of theater. I'm going to say second is when we read Electra by Anne Carson. And we read the reunion scene between Electra and Orestes, and I cried on Zoom because it was so moving. And it was the first time that catharsis in Greek theater really ever hit me. I mean, directing Antigone was wild, but you were so removed when you're directing it. Like, it was good to sit down with something new to me and just experience it in the real time. Having just been thrown into pandemic and finding Greek theater with you and reading it with you and using it as a fuel for everything we're doing now. Truly, truly my favorite theater experience of this year. And there's not many of it, but that really kept me going. So, and doing this with you, Nicole. Those are my theater highlights of the year.
Oh,
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely.
Speaking of books,
yes.
Shall we do the book report?
Yeah, sure.
A book report on Peter Rabbit, Peter Rabbit, report on Peter Rabbit. A book report on Peter Rabbit. Peter Rabbit is a stupid book about the stupid rabbit who steals vegetables from other people's gardens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 83 to go.
And for the last times in season 2, what did we read this week, Nicole Saban?
We read a play called And Jesus Moonwalks the Mississippi by Marcus Gardley. I'm going to keep it short because we are inching up on 1 a.m. and I personally am still suffering that turkey hangover. But Marcus Gardley is a well-known poet and also a playwright. And he has written this wonderful, poetic, metaphorical sort of take on the Civil War and a take on the Demeter Persephone myth, in which, for example, the Mississippi is a character herself, and a young man named Damascus is reincarnated as the goddess Demeter. And I don't even know how to explain this play. Do you, Dan?
I would say the easiest way to explain this play is to read it. To me, it is poetry with a capital P. It is the only way to describe it. It's poetic in every possible way. The way it mixes Americana with the Black experience, with just how we understand ourselves and our history, all mixed into this glorious stew that only makes sense once you've drunk the whole thing. And it is it will absolutely blow your mind as far as what's happening on the page. I mean,
poetic,
the way it's
also really funny. Jesus appears as a little girl's imaginary friend.
It's really, I mean, it's devastating when it wants to be devastating, and it's unbelievably moving and touching And it just the way it fluctuates
There's
between those things is just
There's
wild.
a character called Pot Roast. I'm very into it.
Oh my God, I'm so hungry. And Jesus likes pot roast, by the way, everyone. If you were wondering, Jesus likes pot roast.
Well, so anyway,
no.
if you have enjoyed our book reports this year, we do want to remind you every Sunday night, this will continue. It doesn't end this week like Insomnia does. Book Club meets every Sunday at 7 p.m. We hope you'll join us.
I don't get to ask you what we're reading next week, Nicole. It's so sad. I'm so upset. But I think I'm going to have to.
We'll still be reading in book club, so come along.
I know. However, I think I know exactly what would cheer me up.
Oh.
And that is our favorite bootleg of all time.
Yes.
And once everyone watches it in full, they'll understand why.
It's like religion, how he lives to fly those birds, where they travel for 100 miles or more. I don't know the kind of words that you might say, but I can put it my own way. And if you come with me, you'll know that those words on the wing are a beautiful thing as they flow through the streets of Dublin. And there's music like nothing you've heard if you know the right jukebox to play. There are glasses to raise in the praise of surviving the day. Down where Miss Kitty Farrelly is pouring whiskey, and Frankie Donahue is lighting her cigar. The smoky den were working in gold rings away. It's the laughter of fellas with stories to tell, men who love to get drunk and raise truth back in hell. And you'll come out with me and you'll see what you're missing on the streets of Dublin. 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 On the streets of
Nothing like a good high note to bring us right into 1 a.m. What do you say, Nicole?
I cranked up the volume for that one, Dan. And
You have to.
certainly did a lot of our listeners. Melanie Lipton says Roger Reese should still be here.
Oh, Melanie, how could you do that to me?
Also, Melanie loves Stephen Pasquale like us. We know, babe, babe, babe.
He's our sugar daddy for a reason.
Pat Finn loves this show. So do we. Don't
We
worry.
love it.
It is on our do eventually list. Wouldn't you agree, Dan?
Absolutely, it is. There's no way in hell we're not getting to watch that live at least for 8 performances and cry. There's no way. I just want to say real quick, while we are on the topic of the show, we've been playing this as our good luck charm going into every episode, which is why it was picked this year. It's because we used it for when we did the Wild Party. We used it as a clip to transition one of our segments, and it's become our favorite bootleg. We love it mainly for the tenderness that is easily seen by Roger Reese through that video. He says nothing, but you could see how wonderful he must have been in that part. And I'm sure some of you out there got to see him, and I am very jealous of you.
Did you know they also performed that song at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg?
Really?
They do in a show about Ireland, like a show touring the music of Ireland. They do that song.
Well, bust my buttons.
We do have a few more comments before we wind down the show. Melanie says we all got to see Patty LaPone's basement. Yeah, we
That's
did.
true.
I'm moving in next week, Melanie. Don't worry.
She's got a bags packed.
Ro Kurtz, Hamilton didn't gel for her either. She appreciated the talent in the staging, but didn't really resonate.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it, Ro. Honestly, I agree with that.
Melanie, in reference to Unknown Soldier, said, "I am so bitter."
Yeah,
I think it's coming back.
It's gonna come back.
Matt Rosenberg was sorry he didn't get to see Sing Street. I think that'll be back as well.
Oh, no worry, Matt. You'll get to see that. They have New York Theater Workshops put way too much money in that, and they know it's their next setup, and they're going to do it right. So it's their next once, and they're going to put their money behind it.
Mm-hmm. And John Gaffner says the last show he saw was Cabaret at the Argyle the weekend before the shutdown. Good final show, honestly. A show about the end of the world as well.
And I was dancing with Sally Bowles, Nicole.
And
But we're going to be doing something else on Tuesday, Giving Tuesday. We're going to be doing something else, I think.
We are. I want to remind you about our telethon beginning at 11 a.m. from 11 to 1, then from 7 to 10, and then from 11:30 to midnight. We will be here all day. Please pray for our Wi-Fi access.
And come join us. Come join us.
Yes,
We want friends.
Yes, and do donate if you can, of course. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have so many lovely participants, some of them in the comments, and it is going to be a day and a half. Hopefully, it will feel like we are at EastLine together again.
Yes, please come and let's remake EastLine virtually just for a little while. It will be good fun. And remember, your generosity is what keeps us going. What also is going to keep going, and I'm going to fit this into on air because unless I make this promise, Nicole, we will absolutely not do it. We have made a decision that Environmental Elegies is here to stay for an entire calendar year. Yes, you heard that correctly. We are going to continue Environmental Elegies through the new year, all the way until the date we started. We're going to do an entire season cycle with these. They're too fun and too beautiful not to do, and allows us all to sort of have a nice Long Island scenic meditation together. So this week's is going to be Christine Nelson with some beautiful imagery of the New York City skyline from Garbage Mountain. And if you know, you know. If you know, you know. And it's going to be wonderful, and we're really excited to keep this going, and we hope you guys will come along for the ride. So just remember, every weekend from now until the end of time, there will be an Environmental Elegies premiering. Come take a look. They're all so beautifully done.
Another EastLine event that runs every weekend from now until the end of time is Book Club. I want to remind you that Book Club meets every Sunday night at 7 p.m. This is a free event. We divvy up the parts at about 7:15, so you do not need to prepare anything in advance. We read the play aloud. This weekend, we are reading The Bacchae. This is a play by Euripides and a translation by Anne Carson. It is the OG meta-theatrical play. Dionysus rocks up to wreak havoc in Thebes. It is so much fun. So again, Sunday night at 7 p.m. I will post the link in the comments below.
And of course, as always, if you guys join that book club group, you'll see that we run movie club on every other Thursday. The last two for this year, I'm going to tell you both of them because I made the decisions.
Ooh, an announcement.
Yes, December 3rd, we will be watching Camelot starring Richard Harris. It's wonderful. It's my favorite version because Richard Harris is so good, and it will make you on-way tears. It's wonderful. Join us. And then, of course, the two Fridays from then, we are going to be rounding out our year because after that, Movie Club's going to take a break because there's a lot of holidays. So we're going to end our year together with the Broadway production of Indecent. Because of course we are. Because if we're gonna go, we're gonna go out the same way we went in.
We have one interest, people. One interest.
And honestly, the place where we get most of our bootlegs is on the Fritz right now. And they don't want us to discuss it. But they don't. I'm just telling you the truth. But so hopefully we'll get to continue it in the new year. But we're gonna have a lot of virtual things on the horizon, a lot of wonderful things coming. I would usually ask you when our next episode is, Nicole, but we don't have
our next episode will be in the new year. We promise we are coming back. We've got lots of things on the table. We are planning perhaps a Long Island theater history series and lots of other things. And we will be around in 2021.
Yes, we will
be.
No,
we don't have a next episode scheduled yet, but it will be in 2021.
And we hope you guys will join us again for this wonderful ride. Thank you all so much for listening in season 2 of Insomnia. This has been a lot of fun. It's been keeping us going, and we couldn't have done it without you guys listening. So everyone at home, thank you so much for being here. We miss you. We miss you guys so much. And
we really do.
Next year in Jerusalem. As always, I'm Danny Higgins.
I'm Nicole Saban. We want to wish you a happy holidays and a happy new year, and we will see you hopefully on Tuesday.
Yes, please come and join us for the Giving Tuesday telethon. Also, please wear a mask. Keep you guys safe. I want to see every single one of you on the other side of this. Please wear a mask. And as always, remember, burn your boats.